this before we go ahead and get started, because we are days away from you turning in your rough draft of the paper. It's due on Thursday. It's a couple of days. So when you come in on Thursday, please provide me with a printed copy of the paper. Okay, it needs to be typed up. I'm going to go over the expectations again. Be looking at the rubric, exactly how I'm going to grade it. And this is going to be crucial. Even if you're not going to be here on Thursday, it's still due. Because this is an assignment that was given a week ago. This was given on August 15th. So if you know for certain you're not going to be here on Thursday, you need to send it to me via email. Okay, you need to get that to me, because otherwise it's still going to be 10 days, 10 points late for every day that it's late. So please try to get that in as soon as possible. We are going to take this as a test grade. And they talked to us about this yesterday, and I'm not saying anybody in here would do this, but some people sometimes don't genuinely know the difference between the two. We were talked to about paraphrasing and plagiarism. Paraphrasing is expressing the meaning of the writer or speaker or something written or spoken using different words, especially to achieve greater clarity. Keyword being different words. A rewording is something written or spoken by someone else. Okay, plagiarism is the practice of taking someone else's work or ideas and passing it off as your own. Okay, so basically if you're using like copy and paste, probably not something you're wanting to be doing, okay? Like a summary, okay? It's your own words, what is going on. Don't forget to cite everything. Make sure you have a bibliography page. Here are the expectations I passed out. I want to say this was before Thanksgiving. Okay. Make sure you got your title page. The rough draft needs to be typed. Data collected needs to be displayed in both a visually appealing, relevant, and understandable method. No hand-drawn graphs, because that can unfortunately cost you points. Discuss how you're analyzing the data you have. This is going to require you to verbalize the strategies we've used in class. Be looking specifically at criterion C on math processes. So remember, there are 7 criteria in total, and each one has a certain number of points that I'm allowed. And on the rubric, it's very specific about, what I can award points for and what I can't. One other thing that a lot of people forget, please don't use calculator notation. Okay, like the little house here to represent a square. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and take one of these. I created them last year based on different versions I'd seen from different teachers, but it's broken up into the 7 criteria. Okay, I'll be able to put some comments here, and I'm also going to be putting some comments on the paper as well. I am going to be writing on it. Yes, sir. Frequency expected. Oh, chi-squared? Oh, yes. If you're going to use the notation, you want to be able to use the notation correctly. That is actually in the rubric. So you'll need to actually say like chi-squared. I mean, you can actually say chi, C-H-I, squared. Actually spell out the word squared if you want to. The frequency part.
So how when you write frequency expected, how the E is like a subscript of the F?
Oh, you're talking about like the formula.
Like when writing.
Oh, when you're writing it out, I would actually say the words. If you want to go ahead and define those variables so then you can reference those again, that would be okay. But, don't just give me the variable without telling the reader what it is. Hopefully that clears up any confusion. Eli.
So when you're describing your mathematical processes, so let's say if I'm doing chi-squared, do you have to do every single step or just show?
No, because that's not the point of the paper, but you have to do enough to make the reader know why you're using that strategy and understand what it is that strategy is doing. Those are really, I would say, the 2 main points. So you don't have to sit there and, write a novel, but you want to make sure that the reader gets a sense that you know what you're talking about and why this is important. Okay. Yeah, that's probably how I would do it. I mean, you're going to be using the technology, but you could focus on one cell just to kind of comment on for example, the expected values to show how you got those. You don't have to put the table in there for the critical value. That's unnecessary. But you can speak to how you got the critical value, because otherwise it just appears to be a number, that came out of thin air. So like when you're talking about the critical value, what 2 items do you want to bring up? Degrees of freedom.
And the significance level?
And the significance level that you're going to choose. And, maybe even a word on why you chose that particular significance level. Remember, you had 1%, 5%, or 10%. And typically I go kind of middle of the road 5%, but if you choose to use one of the other ones, maybe just a quick comment on why you decided to do that. Okay. And then you'll notice at the end, these are the number of points. So you can get anywhere on the intro from 0 to 3, the info and measurement from 0 to 3, 0 to 5 on math processes, and then all the way down. And then I'll be able to go ahead and give you your total at the very end of it. All right, so you'll have a pretty good overview. I'll be making comments on the paper itself as well. And if you have any questions, definitely at some point come see me. But here's the scale on how I'm going to be grading it. Okay, so it is very possible to go ahead, and fail this because I have some people who don't turn it in, or I have some people who just kind of throw it together at the last minute. And it is kind of obvious, when I read through those. But basically, anything 9 or higher is going to be a passing grade.
Are you giving us like a max score of 15?
No, well, no. What I'm saying is anything 15 or above would constitute a 100. Because I would say at this point, if your paper is somewhere right around here, like let's say around 12 or 13, I'd say you're doing really good. Okay, if I go ahead and score it as a 12 or 13. I'm sorry? No, 20. 20 is the highest you can go. 20 is the highest you can go. And then the overall grade for IB, remember you've got 40% for each of your 2 paper exams and then 20% for this. It is pretty important. And I've seen people before, they figured I'll just go ahead and do really well on the tests and kind of blow off the IA because that's 80%, right? But IB, if you don't turn in an IA, you don't get it. You have to turn something in for the IA.
Even
yeah.
if you just like write out on the paper this.
I mean, as long as you turn in something, I mean, it may be graded as a 0, but you got something turned in. Okay. So I know that's a lot of information, but we've only got, 2 days until you guys are turning these in. Did anybody have any other questions?
So instead of x squared, use x caret 2?
No, don't use that. Yeah. So you actually want to write it probably. I on my computer, I always have the, it's not the Google, but it's a part of Word. Yeah, the equation editor. So I'm sure, different programs have different variations of that. And if you have to use maybe a superscript or a subscript to kind of stand in for that, that's fine. But if you are going to go, and if you're going to use chi-squared, if you're going to go ahead and use the correlation coefficient or standard deviation, definitely go ahead and show me the formula, what it is that you're doing, because you're going to be talking about how all your calculations are done by technology, but you can probably show a little part of that, by hand or something. Hey. Mm-hmm. Like cut and paste? Yeah. I mean, IB doesn't really look on that very favorably in terms of points because it doesn't look very professional. Just cut and paste. What I would do is probably just kind of type out your work. Yeah. I mean, definitely not the whole thing because you don't want pages and pages of algebra, but I mean, who wouldn't? Just, enough just to show the reader why we're using the strategy, why it's important, what answer I'm getting. Okay. All right. So how many people are feeling really good about their paper? Okay. Sid. Okay. That's actually up to you, whether you do it by hand or on the calculator or both. I'm kind of the opinion, you're using the technology, but you could also comment if you do it by hand, like maybe how close they are or how far apart they are. I would like to comment on that. That's just me. I think that'd be fine, yeah. As long as your math is correct, that's really what that particular section is looking for. Hey. You could. In fact, who was it in here who was talking about using the error approximation? All right, yes. You could do that, and that would be considered a simple process. Okay, but the biggest thing I can tell you is be looking at that rubric that I provided, that, you know, the 2-page packet that tells exactly what I'm going to be looking for. You need to read through those, you know, line by line, because I'm going to be, you know, there are certain things I can award points for and certain things they don't want me to award points for. Okay, so I'm going to try to follow that as, you know, as well as I possibly can. Okay. All right. Well, good. I didn't want to take up a whole lot of time. We are going to go ahead and get started on our next set of notes. Formula. I mean, if you want to talk about that after class, we can, but yeah, that would be, yeah, because you have to find the covariance and then the standard deviation for your two quantities. Remember we called that S sub xy and then S sub x and S sub y? Does that kind of sound familiar? Yeah. Okay, but there is a specific formula, and if you want me to show you in the calculator, I can show you that as well. Okay.
So, like, on our IA, we don't necessarily show any of our math work.
Oh, no, I didn't say that.
Wait, what?
I would think it's a good idea in your IA to show some of your work. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, chi-squared show, like, just like a...
You know, you definitely want to set up the table. Like, you want to have a discussion about where you're getting these values from. Like, maybe take one cell and show how you got the expected value. So some work, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't rely 100% on just the technology. I would have something like that in the paper. But that's just me. Okay. All right, John. Well, there you go. Okay, so Kiana, Karime, and hold on one second. Araya and Hillary. Okay, here's your test from the other day. And you folks can work together on this. You can't use any notes or anything, but you can work together. And you got your calculators?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Oh, shoot. I left my calculator. Go get it.
It's not that far. There you go. See, Eli helped you out. All right.
Thank y'all.
All right, take care, John. All right, so good. Okay, so the only thing I really want to go ahead and point out is they are due on Thursday. Okay, so again, whether you're here or you're absent, it is your responsibility to still get that to me. So if you're here, give me a printed version all typed up. If you're not going to be here, if you already know ahead of time, please send it to me via email, because if I get it after midnight, it's got to be late. Everybody okay with that? Okay. All right, good. Well, let's kind of put the IA on the back burner for just a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about some arithmetic sequences and series. And this may be the last set of notes we have for the semester. I would really like to try and get geometric sequences and series in there, but we're going to see how that plays out. We should take through Thursday to do this, give you a homework assignment. We'll go ahead, probably get that turned in on Monday. We don't have a district assessment in here. The only other thing we'd have to focus on would be the review and the final. And as far as that goes, I did get everything copied and ready to go. The review has 50 multiple choice questions and 21 of those 50 will be your test next Friday. So I won't see you next Thursday. Basically, as long as you work the review and you feel confident, you should be able to know exactly what the final is before you walk into it. Okay. All right. So good. All right. Sequences and series. Well, a sequence is a set of quantities arranged in a definite order. Series is the sum of a sequence. So the terminology is very specific. Okay, a sequence is just numbers in some kind of sequential order that have some kind of pattern to them. Okay. We had a discussion about this the other day, man. Okay, thank you. All right. Now, a series is when you take that sequence and you add up a certain number of terms. Okay. Arithmetic sequence, a sequence in which each element after the first is obtained by adding a fixed number, which we call the common difference, and you'll come to know that is the variable d to the previous element. Geometric sequence, a sequence in which each element after the first is obtained by multiplying the previous element by a fixed number called the common ratio. Okay. So let's see here. The terms of the sequence are generally labeled U sub 1, U sub 2, U sub 3. Now the subscript is going to be the number term that it represents. So U sub 1 is the very first term, U sub 2 is the second, all the way to U sub n, which we call the nth term. And we're going to be asked to find that actually quite a bit. The nth term of a sequence is labeled U sub n. Now we have a formula that's going to be real useful with us here. In order to find the nth term of an arithmetic sequence, U sub n equals U sub 1, the first term, plus the number of terms minus 1 times d. And remember, d is what we refer to as the common ratio, or excuse me, the common difference. This is one of the formulas that's going to be provided for you in your formula book when you take your paper exams. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get to an example, and let's see what you guys think. A is the sequence, 9, 12, 15, 18, and those dots just indicate that the pattern continues. Is that an arithmetic sequence? Okay, yes. Okay, because what's the value that you're either adding or subtracting? Yeah, so 9 plus 3, 12 plus 3, 15 plus 3, 18 plus 3. So I know the next term should be what? Yeah, it should be 21, then go to 24. Well, that term, that's what we refer to as the common difference. The value that you either add or subtract over and over again, that's the value of d. So yes, this absolutely is an arithmetic sequence, and we already know that d is equal to 3. So if your sequence is decreasing, then that more than likely means that your value has got to be negative, so you're going to be subtracting it. Okay, and then b, it says find the 8th term for the sequence described in part A. So this wouldn't be very difficult. You know, we've already got 4 terms, so we really only have to do it 4 more times. But this is just kind of practice to set the stage to show you that we're going to be getting these right, because you very well could be asked, find me the 100th term. Find me the 200th term. And you're probably not going to want to sit there, you know, all day and just continually add 3 plus 3 plus 3 and then make sure you get the right one. Okay, so let's write the formula out. U sub n, okay, the nth term, is equal to the first term plus n minus 1 times d. Now we're looking for the 8th term, so that would be u sub 8, right? Equals. So basically we're just going to go ahead and start plugging everything in. What's the first term? Okay, that's 9. The very first term of the sequence, that's u sub 1. Okay, so u sub 1 is equal to 9. So that would be 9. Plus, do we know the value of n? It is 8. Remember, that little subscript of the number we're looking for, that is your value of n. So here, n equals 8 minus 1, and then times d, our common difference, which is 3. Okay. And then from here, it's just a matter of simplifying that. 8 minus 1 times 3. So 9 plus 21 would be 30. Okay. Yes? Well, not by n. See, we already have the first term, and kind of think about why the formula is the way it is. Okay. If I have the first term 9, I'm looking for the 8th term. So how many times would I have to actually have to add 3?
Just 4 more times.
Or 7? Because this is the first one, right? Now it's 4 because we were given the first 4, but we're using the formula.
Yeah, there's 4 more numbers you need to go before you get to the 8th term.
Yes.
But we're starting.
But we're starting at 9. We're starting at the first.
Yeah.
Hey.
Like add 3, and multiply that by 4, which is the number you want, and then add that number to the last one.
Well, yes, you're absolutely right if 18 was my first term. But remember, 9 is what started the sequence.
So, like, what you're saying is true, but then
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, see, you're absolutely right, because look at it in kind of the big picture. 9 is the first term, right?
Yeah.
So in order to get the second term, I would have to add 3. To get the third term, I would have to add 3 twice, or 2 times 3, right? Well, that's exactly what we're doing. So if I want to start from the first term and I want to get to the 8th, well, that means I got to go 7 more terms, right? That's why we have this difference right here. The n minus 1 gives you the previous term. Does that kind of help?
Yeah, I'm just going to use this other way and get off already.
Oh, yeah, you should.
There's
Because if you're going to go ahead and pretend that 18 is the first term, well then, yeah, you've only got so many other terms to go. But we're starting with the very first term in the sequence. And even if, like I said, if you were to do it by hand, I mean, we could just go ahead and just add 3, okay, 4 more times, and we should get right to 30. Okay? Let's try another one. The 15th term of an arithmetic sequence is 45, and the first term is negative 11. Find the common difference. So what variable is the common difference? Remember, that's D. Okay. So I don't know what the value of D is. I already know that U sub 1 is equal to negative 11. I know that U sub 15 is equal to what? Okay, 45. Now, we actually have everything we need in order to find D. Let's go ahead and write out the formula. So U sub n is equal to U sub 1, the first term, okay, plus n minus 1 times D. Okay. Well, let's start with the easy ones first. The first term was what? Negative 11. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that with negative 11 plus. Now, do we know n? What is it? We know n is equal to 15. Remember, that's my subscript here. So n is equal to 15. So I've gotten the first term. I've gotten this guy right here. So I'm going to go ahead and say 15 minus 1 times d. Now, if I knew u sub n, then I would have enough to go ahead and work backwards and figure out what d is, right? Okay. Well, do we have that value?
Yes.
Yeah. It's 45. Because, see, think about it. You plugged in what value of n? 15. That means you'd be using the 15th term here. But they did provide us the 15th term. I'm just going to go ahead and plug in that 45. Okay. And let's see what we end up with. 45 is equal to a negative 11. That would be plus 14d, whatever that common difference is. All right, so I'm going to add the 11 over. So let's see, 14d should equal what? Okay, 56. And what is d? It is 4. Divide through by 14. So the common difference should be 4. Okay. All right. Now, some of them may even ask you to go ahead and generate the sequence to a certain number of terms. We know the first one was negative 11. Okay. So what would the second term be? Negative 7. And how do we get that? Yeah, you just started applying your common difference. So negative 11 plus 4, negative 7. Negative 7 plus 4, negative 3. And then if we went ahead and did that to the 15th term, we should be getting to 45. Everything should be matching up nicely. Okay. Anybody having a hard time? So this one's really just kind of going back to algebra and algebraic skills. Okay. Well, let's try another one. For the sequence, 7, 11, 15, 19, ... Find the 20th term. You guys want to try one on your own? Okay. So what do you think? 2 minutes? 2 minutes enough? Okay. And if you want to work together, you can kind of bounce ideas off one another. And where is my battery? Lost it. Okay, so let's try 2 minutes. We're trying to find the 20th term. Do, 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 do. Okay, coming up on 40 seconds. Today's Tuesday. Everybody have a good 3-day weekend? Well, we got way more snow than we were expecting. It just unfortunately happened one day too late. Hey. No, I was not able to watch it, but I heard that we were not performing as we should have. From the way I heard it, that's definitely a win we shouldn't celebrate, especially after what we did with St. Louis. But yeah, I don't know. But I mean, what is that? We're on a 5-game winning streak now?
Wait, can we acknowledge the fact that the Bears beat the Rams for a second? That's a crazy one.
Little Max, one of the craziest game there is.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Libby.
In the equation, where it says like the use of 1 plus n minus 1 times t, what if we don't have the first term?
Well, we do have the first term.
Well, not
Now, sometimes, like in this previous one, or excuse me, the next one, we are going to have to go ahead and kind of work backwards, find those items, and then we could use those to proceed. So we're going to get to that one in just a second. Okay. In fact, does anybody think they have the answer for this one? Okay, Samir, what'd you get? 42? We're a little off. Okay, Gabby? 83. It is 83, yes. As much as I like the number 42. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about it.
The number 4, example 3 or 4.
On third one.
My bad. Oh, I answered the.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, the next one is 42. Yes, you're right. Yeah, but we're on the third. Yeah, we're on the third one. There you go. So we're already working ahead. Good. Okay, so let's kind of work through this and see how we got it. The first term is 7. It's leading the sequence. So u sub 1 is equal to 7. And depending on the resource that you use, in fact, a lot of the textbooks that I've always seen use the variable a. In fact, even on some of the problems on your paper exams, I've seen them use a instead of u. So don't let that throw you off. The variable itself means nothing. Okay. So u sub 1 is equal to 7. What else do we know? What is the value of d? Okay, and how we get that? Yeah, just by looking at the pattern here. 7 plus 4 would give me 11. Plus 4 is 15. Plus 4, and this is going to keep going. Okay. Now, these first examples are starting off, pretty basic, making sure that we get the idea. But is it always going to be like a whole number common difference? No, it could be fractional. It could be decimal. I mean, it could be anything. Okay. So we have 7 and 4. All right, let's go ahead and start to plug in. So u sub n is equal to u sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. All right, and we're trying to find the 20th term, so that would be represented by u sub 20. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. So u sub 20 equals, first term was 7, plus, now at this point, is everybody okay if I were just going to go ahead and say 19? Everybody would be okay where the 19 came from. Okay. And then times what? 4. All right, so 19 times 4 would be 76 plus the 7. That's where we get the 83. Okay. Good. Anybody having trouble? Any problems? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. Actually, Samir, since you kind of already answered that one before we got to it, would you like to show us how you did it? Cool.
I mean, like, I didn't really use like a mathematical formula. What I just did is
Oh, okay.
I just shotgunned it because I think you can already tell that how 16.5 and 24 is the only way you can really get you can keep like a sequence going is by only adding by something by 0.5. So I just I did 16.5 and then plus 1.5 is d. So we use. And then I continued with that, and then that eventually got me to 24. So I figured out 1.5 was the difference, and then so what I did is there's 12 terms till 24. So what I did is I did 1.5 times 12, which got me 18, I think. Is that right?
1.5. Yes.
Yeah. And then I added 18 to 24, and then that got me 42.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's not really mathematical, but
Yeah. Well, no, it's mathematical. You did good. Okay. In fact, you got really close to basically what I did, because we know that u sub 7 is equal to 16.5, right? And we know that u sub 12 is equal to 24. And the one thing we know about the pattern is that it has to be the same value added over and over and over again, right? So what if I took, in order to find that value of d, what he got here, why don't I take the difference and then divide by the number of terms we have in between them? So the 24 minus the 16.5. And how many terms is it from 7 to 12? 5. So that's a little more concrete way. That's where he was able to get the 1.5, which is what? The common difference. So that's your value of d, just like he said right there. Okay. And then what we can go ahead and do is just kind of work backwards. And it actually doesn't matter which one I choose. What do you guys want to work with? The 7th term or the 12th term? 12th term, okay? Probably because it's a nice whole number. So here's my formula. U sub n is equal to u sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. Okay, well, let's go ahead and plug everything in. Now, we're going to go ahead and use the 12th term for this. So u sub 12, that is 24. But I'm going to go ahead and plug in the 12 right there for n. Okay, because that was the value of n, right? We don't know what the first term is. That's actually what we're trying to find. Plus, so would everybody be okay if I just put 11? And then times what? 1.5. Okay. Everybody okay as I set that up? Okay. So 24 minus 11 times 1.5. Okay. I got the first term to be 7.5. Okay. So u sub 1 equals 7.5. So, Libby, this is what we were talking about a second ago. Now, Samir didn't need to do this. He just focused everything, right on the pattern and what he saw. But if you want to go through using the formula, this is how you would do it.
Yeah, that's how
Okay, well, good. Good. As long as you're able to get to the same answer, that's fine with me. Okay. And then from here, it's just a matter of plugging in 7.5 for the first term. We found d to be 1.5. We're looking for the 24th term, so n would be 24. And you should be getting 42. Does anybody want me to go ahead and plug that in and show that we'll get 42? No? You believe me? Okay. All right. Well, good. What else do we have here? Okay, a car whose original value was $25,600 decreases in value by $90 per month. How long will it take before the car's value falls below $15,000? Okay. So you see how a sequence could be generated on this? Okay. Do we know what the first value is?
25,000.
Yeah. Was the original price of the car. So u sub 1 equals 25,600. Do we know the common difference? Negative 90. Now, why is it negative? Because it's decreasing, yes. So D is equal to negative 90. And we're interested in what? How long will it take before the car's value falls below 15,000? Okay, so here's my formula. U sub n equals u sub 1 plus n minus 1 times d. So what am I specifically trying to solve for? N. Okay, so that's going to represent the term number, or in this case, the number of months. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. So let's see here. For the nth term, I'm going to go ahead and plug in the 15,000 equals. Well, the car was originally $25,600 plus, we don't know what n is in this case, but we do know that our common difference was negative 90. Okay. Now all we have to do is go ahead and just basically do a little bit of algebra and solve ourselves an equation. Okay. So what would you suggest I do next?
Distribute the negative 90.
Okay. So let's see here. 15,000 is equal to 25,600. So if I distribute that, that'd be minus 90n plus 90. Okay, so 15,000 is equal to negative 90n, and then that's going to be 25,690. All right. And then now what? Okay. So 15,000 minus, okay, and you probably don't need a calculator to do this, but that's okay, minus 25,690. Now that would equal negative 90n, so I'm going to divide by negative 90. Okay. So how many months thereabouts are we looking at?
119.
Okay. Of course. So I'm going to hit Control Enter. Whoa. Yeah. Divided it by 90 again. Okay. So let's say 1069 divided by 9. Bam. So 118.7. Now this brings up an interesting question. So basically it stopped me just after the 118th term. Now the question said how long until it goes below 15,000. So would you say 118 or would you say 119? I'd go 119. See, it doesn't equal 15,000 until 118.778, whatever the decimal is. There you go. And when we're talking in terms of a sequence as well, you know, we have specifically numbered terms. We don't have portions of a term. Does that make sense? So here, you know, you would kind of have to choose. So let's say 119. In fact, how many years would that be? Oop. So 119 divided by 12. Dadgummit. I love technology. Okay. So just shy of 10 years. Okay. I've had my car for about 15 years. And it's starting to show. Well, it's a PT Cruiser.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You could probably tell my car because it's got Batman and stuff all over it. Yeah, you probably walk past it in the parking lot. But that car, she's been loyal, but man, she's on her last leg. My car is basically to work and back because we don't want to risk doing anything else with it because it's old. I mean, it's a good car, but she's had a lot of work done to her.
Does your wife drive it?
Does my mom? No, but my wife has her own car, yes. She had a car that made my car look, awesome. And then her car finally crapped out, and we had no choice but to get herself a new car, and it ended up being a brand new car. So her car is now the, and my car is the, wah, wah. But that's okay. That's okay.
I have a love story with Twilight.
It wouldn't be hard.
I have a friend who has a...
Not to step on anybody here a Twilight fan?
100,000 miles.
Really? No? Because true vampires sparkle. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding about that. You know, they sparkled in the sunlight?
Yeah. I
Yes.
love those movies.
Really? I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. When I think of vampires, I don't think of that.
The first one and the last ones are really good. They're so bad that,
Anyways. Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Does anybody have any questions on what we just did? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Uh-huh.
it says n minus 1, but you put 90.
Oh, negative 90n plus 90? Oh, because, see, I knew the value of the common difference, so I just distributed that. So the negative 90 times n, and then the negative 90 times the negative 1. Okay. Good. Any other questions? So I think we got to, what was that, our fifth problem? So we worked out pretty good today. We actually don't have a whole lot left. I think we might actually be able to get to the geometric sequences and series. I know you guys are really excited about that, right? Yeah, super. I'll tell you what, 202 let's go ahead and stop there, because the next section I want to show you is how to do a lot of this on the calculator, okay, which is going to be really important to you again for the paper exams. And then we might be able to finish tomorrow, and I think I might just go ahead and give you Thursday to go ahead and work on your assignment. But one other thing I'm going to do on Thursday, I do want to call you up to the computer one at a time, and I want to help you figure out what your semester average is. Okay? Because I really don't think anybody in here is in too much danger. There are a few grades that are a little low, but I think if you're able to get a decent enough grade on the final, you should be fine. But I want to make sure everybody knows where their standing is. Okay. All right. So